So now, thank you. We are up to the two dots at the bottom of Vavam base. So tonight we have another one of Rabban Horowitz's favorite types of Gemaras. Guy makes up the most insane ways of marrying a woman. Right? Mamish, right? Totally wild, all the cases. That's basically what we're dealing here. So on my Rav, a lot of it has to do with, contracts, financial contracts, etc. Let's see. So on my Rav, 10 mana leplani. If a woman tells the man here, right? The woman tells the man, give 100 to Pliny. If you give the 100 to Pliny, meaning instead of giving me 100, give it to somebody else, and I'm going to become Mekudesh to you. Yeah? So Mikudeshes, Midin Orev. So they're married because of the Din Orev. Orev is a guarantor, right? Meaning somebody normally, a normal Orev is that a guy borrows money, and this guy will pay it back for him if the fellow defaults on the loan. So the same thing here. So let's see, Orev Lava Fagav. We're on the second line down now. Zayin Amud Aleph. Orev Lava Fagav Deloy Mati Hanoli Yodei Kameshabed Nafshei. An Orev, even though he doesn't get Hana, he's still Meshabed himself, meaning he got no Hana from this. He's just a good Samaritan, and he's helping this guy, right? So hi, it's a nami. So this woman also, even though she doesn't have hana, she's mashabit and she's kind of
seltzer.
Open it, please. Yeah. So she's being mashabit and being mocked herself, meaning this lady, she's not getting any money. She says, you know what? Since she tells the guy, since you're giving this fellow money, even though I'm not benefiting from it, but I am going to consider myself married to you. Right? So that works. Next case. Halef Mona. If she says, I'm sorry, no, here he says, now we're back to him. He says to his shliach, right? Halef Mona Viskachi Leplani. Take money or 100 and be Makadish me. How does it go? Yeah, gonna be Makadish me to Pliny. Yeah, it should really be Racham. This is for you. No, shouldn't it be Plynisa? Female? No, Henechmana Viskachi Lepliny. Right, this is the man talking to his friend, and his friend is being Makadish her. Oh no, that doesn't make sense. Meaning Pliny's talking in third person to himself. A guy says to his friend, take your own money, meaning take the shliach's money, not the mishaleach's money. Take the money, give it to this girl, be mekadesh. So mekudeshes midin eved knani. It works because of an eved knani. Eved knani lava v'gav deloy chasav v'loy midi v'loy midi kokani nafshay. An eved knani, how does it work? He doesn't. He's not selling anything. He's selling his meaning when he buys himself back. Right? When Ani buys himself back. So what's he doing? Right? Meaning, or well, either when he buys himself back, so he's just taking what rightfully belongs to him. And if somebody else buys the Eved, so what's going on? He's not giving of his own. The Eved's not giving of his own. If I come and decide to bail out my friend the Eved, right? So the Eved's kind of himself, even though he didn't give anything. Right? So the same thing here. The Shliach is doing the Kiddushin on behalf of the person who sent him, even though the person who sent him not losing any money. Right? Because Sahai Gavranami, this man also, he didn't miss, he's not losing out anything. Right? His friend is laying out the money for the ring. So Kakani La Lahayitza is kind of this woman, even though sorry. That's the number one question the Masada Kedushin asks the Chassan. Is this yours? Right? Is this yours? Right? Because he's got to make sure that the money belongs to him. But that's a little different than here. Here, the guy's doing it on behalf of somebody else. Right? Okay. So those are the first.
Is he going to keep the other money for himself, or he's just lending the guy? He's just giving the guy a gift. Like, what is practically going on here?
I'm not sure. I was wondering
Because
that myself. Is
if
he
it's
giving
just
it as
a
a gift
question
or is
of
he going
which
to give it
money
back?
he's using, so who cares? Milva like son and Lamai Nafkamina. But if he's just giving the guy a gift, how is the guy ever, like you said, how is the guy ever kind it?
Right. So I think it's even if he doesn't give it to him, he's giving him the money.
But he was
Right.
never kind it.
He's never coined it. Yeah.
And you can't say Zachem Laden Shalei Befana by yourself. You need a third party to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So
So
I think
how?
no. I think he's just giving it on his own and finished. He's doing his friend a favor. He's marrying him off.
But his friend, how is he doing a Mexican Constitution for his friend with money that his friends never own?
That's the Chiddush Gemara. The same way Ever Kanani can do this, the same thing that a guy can do it too. A guy can go marry somebody
But
else.
there, a guy could be kind of Evan Kanani and then be mocked into Evan Kanani to himself. Here, that's not the person himself has to do the Mexican Constitution through a shliach, but he himself it has to be through his money.
That's the Chiddush.
I know, but why is Evan Kanani meduma? That's what I'm not understanding. And Evan Kanani, you could be kind of Evan Kanani from that person, and then go ahead and be mocked into Evan Kanani to himself. That
Right.
makes sense. Why would that work over here?
I hear what she's asking. I hear. It's a yeah. I hear your horror. It's not exactly the same case. Yeah, very good. Very good. But now let's go with the third case. Let's see, Akiva, if you really have a problem with the third case. If you have a problem with the second case, you certainly have a problem with this case. This case is 10 mana leplini, right? Vakadish ani loy. Give 100 to Pliny, meaning now we're back to the woman talking. She says, give 100 to this guy, and I'm going to be married to him. Right? The first case was she says, give 100 to him, and I'm going to be married to you. This one is give 100 to this guy, and I'm going to be married to him. Right? So this guy is a real winner. He's getting 100 and he's getting a wife. Right? So he must be like a fundraiser for a yeshiva or something. Right? Parents, you know people like that. They can arrange it that somebody actually gives him $100 and gives him a wife. He really didn't have to pay for anything. Right? Right? So does that work? Yeah. So Mikudeshes Midin Shneim. She's Mikudeshes because of both Arev and Evikanani. Arev Lava Fagav Deloy Kamati Anoliyadi Kamashabat Nafshe. So an Arev, right? She's an Arev. She's the equivalent of an Arev. So an Arev, like we said, he doesn't get any benefit, but he's Meshabat himself. So Hai Itza Nami Abagav Deloy Kamati Anoliyada Kamakani Nafshe. She's kind of herself. So the Gemara asks me, dummy, Arev, so by the Arev, that the one who is getting, the one who the Arev is helping out actually lost some money, right? Meaning the lender who's getting the money from the Arev did lose money, but I mean, whatever, he's getting paid back, but he had to part with money. I guess that's what we'd say. Right? Hi, Gavra. But this guy is marrying this woman. He did nothing. He's sitting on his couch. A guy knocks on the door and says, "This lady said she'll marry you if he'll give you $100." Right? Yeah. So he did. He lost nothing. Here, the lender at least had give up something. That's one. Gemara asks, "Evet Kanani yachir." Okay, what about Evet Kanani? So Evet Kanani will help that out because he doesn't lose anything and he's being kind to himself. Meaning, when somebody bails out his fellow slave, that fellow slave is going free, and it doesn't cost him a thing. So Evet Kanani helps. The Gemara says, "Me dummy." Is it similar? Hafta Bakni Kokani there by the Evet Kanani, the guy who is selling the slave, right, is kinda the money. Here, this lady is selling herself, and who's getting the money? She's not getting it. But like a Kani she's not getting anything. So we say, again, she's essentially marrying herself off. She's getting no money. So we say, okay, so Ariv will help it out. Even though he doesn't get Hanom, Mishabit Nafshe is being Mishabit himself. So because of this, it's it's not exactly like a tzad shava, but between the two of them, between an Arev And Eva Kanani, we compare them to this situation, and therefore she is considered married. So again, there's three cases that the Gemara just discussed. The woman tells a guy, let's say Reuven Shimon, the woman tells Reuven, give money to Shimon and I will marry you, Reuven. We say that works because that's the same thing as an Orev. Then you have Reuven tells his friend Shimon, go take your own money and give it to this lady and I'll marry her. That works out to every Kanani. And then you have a third case where a woman could tell Reuven to give 100 to Shimon and I'll be married to Shimon. And that's because of the combination of Orev and Eva Kanani. Fine. So if the lady says take 100, right, and meaning she says I'll give you 100. This is a real nice lady. She says I'm going to give you 100 and I'll marry you, right? So Mao, what's the din there? So she's married, right? Even though we learned that you have to, the man has to give it. So what's a pshat? So basically, what's happening here is you have the chasim that have achrayis. That's land. Right? We've had this many times. When somebody lends money, and then and the guy defaults, he can collect from land. He cannot collect from metaltalin. So land is called achrayis, and money and anything movable is considered not achrayis. So here, what did this woman? Well, the woman is considered like land, and the money is considered like karka. So basically, what we're saying is not a karka, like movables, right? So therefore, when she gave this guy money, he's being kinda her together with the money. So she is taking money, and while she gives him the money, not while, but at the same time that she gives him the money, he's being kind to her. That's called a kinyan agav, right? Now, kinyan agav is one of the ways we do mechiras chametz, right? But normally kinyan agav works the opposite. You buy a field, and along with the field, you get metaltalin. Here, she's giving metaltalin, and she's giving herself. Right? So it doesn't make sense. The nechasim that have achrayis, which is land, and this woman is niknin in nechasim she'ein lam achrayis, are niknin with nechasim that don't have achrayis. And we know that we learn the opposite, that nechasim she'ein lam achrayis, nechasim that don't have achrayis, that's movable things, niknin in nechasim she'yesh lam achrayis. You kind of with things that do have achrayis, bekesef, b'shtar, v'chazaka, which is one of the ways we do a kinyan by mechiras chametz, right? Because we don't give our chametz to the guy. So one of the ways we do it is that you give the karka. That actually the rabbi sells a closet. In my house, I do the basement closet and an attic closet, right? And we sell that closet to the guy. And agav, that the guy being kind of the closet, he's kind of all the metaltal and all the chametz. That's one of the kinyanim that's done. But that's the way to do it. We don't do it the opposite, which is we sell him a piece of chametz and then sell him all our land. That's not the way it goes. And here, that's exactly what we're thinking is going on. So the more answers are Amalei, it's not. That's not how the Kenyan's working here. Amalei, me service the Amalei agav. This is not a Kenyan agav. Hacha ba adam chashav askin. We're talking about adam chashav. The vahi hana the kamakab matana mina with the hana that she's being makabel matana gamra umakaniyo nafsha. She in her head she's getting such hana that this man actually took her money from her. So therefore she is marrying him. It's almost like he's giving by taking, right? I think that's the phrase. You can give something along those lines, which is a big mussar, because a lot of times, very negate in marriage, right? Or you can do a lot of giving by taking, right? Somebody go eat by somebody's house, and the woman says, "You want doubles?" You're not in the mood of doubles, so you to say, I'll take doubles, so she'll feel complimented that she made a good food. Nishkan Grace and Mesiras Nefesh to do this, but I was just saying, right? So what are you doing? You're giving by taking, right? You took doubles, but really what you were doing is you were giving, right? You could do that a lot. You could do that with a lot of things, right? You take a chesed from somebody, even though you don't really need that chesed. Fine.
But to
Yeah,
Yaakov, the Gemara to Havamina that the Kenyan would be through Kenyan Aga. The Gemara had spent the last three blocks trying to figure out what Kenyanim would work by Kedushin. The Gemara never had I mean, the Gemara came out. There's only three Kenyanim by Kedushin. What was the Gemara's Havamina Kenyan would work?
yeah, but the question is does Agav work al Kesef? That's what I'm assuming. Is Agav a
But
form of
Kenyan
Kesef?
Aga works by Chazaka also, and we know Chazaka doesn't work by Kedushin.
Right. So maybe it only is
The she's
uh
not really property. I mean, I know Rashi tries to shoehorn in the idea that she's property, but she's not really property. No evidence is really property.
right,
So this seems like a very tenuous type svar to say to begin with. What it's built on.
right. No, I hear. It's a good caution. It's a good caution. This is right up your alley. This stuff for you, Akiva, right? Anyways, very good. Uh,
We're only talking about a pruta, a shava pruta. That's a tiny amount. So the hana is it only needs to be a pruta's worth in order to be chal. So what's a pruta's worth of hana?
that's true. That's true. Um, I hear. Oh, we'll get more. Are we gonna have more about that? Yeah, we're going to. Let's see weiter. So Itmar, that's what we're up to. Yeah, Itmar nami mishmei the Rava v'chein lini mamayna. We said the same thing in the name of Rava. V'chein le'inyan the mammon. But same thing, meaning not only by marriage, but any sort of contract would work the same way. You can go give somebody money. You can go give money to him, and I get the karka, right? So why do I need two cases? Meaning, if the Kenyan works by marriage, so it'll work by money. If it works by money, it works by marriage. Meaning Kiddushin, it's a nichala b'choldu. A woman is going to be very happy with getting the smallest amount of money. Because Rish Lakish, which we had this in Gittin, Tam Lamet of Tandu, Milames of Armel, because a woman would rather live. Tandu means with two people. A woman would rather have some company than to stay by herself. So Mamela, she's willing to take a very small amount of money or a small amount of hana in order to marry a man. But money, maybe not, maybe that's a real. That once we're talking business, nobody's going to be willing to sell themselves or sell a karka if one guy gives another guy money and he never sees any of the money. Biash, you're going to say money, money, the mice you could be Michael. Somebody owes you money, you could be Michael. I have a Kiddushin, aim a Kiddushin that you can't be Michael. So maybe she would not give up herself for just a small amount of money. So therefore, tzricha, we need to have both cases. We already said from Rav Nevensal that this whole rule of tavlamet of tandu doesn't seem to apply anymore. Women are not just willing to marry anybody, right? Seems like he says it fairish that it doesn't really apply anymore. Fine. Now here we go with all these oddball cases. So Amar Rav, hiskachili lechatziyai. A guy tells a woman, you're gonna marry half of me, right? And obviously gives money or kesef star bia, right? Then Mikudeshes, she's married to him. But he says to the woman, hey, I'm marrying half of you. Ain't a Mikudeshes, she's not Mikudeshes. Why are you saying that half of you is Mikudeshes? Let me that half of me is Mikudeshes, meaning half the man is married. That works. Isha Amar Rahman because it says you have to marry a woman and not a half a woman. Right? So Chanami, Ish Amar Rahman a woman can't marry a half a man, she has to marry a whole man. So Malay, they said to him, no, that's not the way it is. A woman can't marry two men. Elagavra, can't a man marry two women? So therefore, he can basically, I think what the Gemara seems to be saying is that a man, when he marries two women, so half of him could be married to one, and half of him could be married to another. And this is what he's telling her. That if he's going to marry another one, then he can marry another woman. Right? So basically, it's the Gemara's answering very posh. The reason why a man could marry half a woman, the reason why a half a man could marry a woman is because a man can marry multiple wives. So half of him can marry one woman and half of him can marry another woman. But a man cannot marry half a woman because a woman is stuck with one man.
Would he only pay half of the suva?
How are you dividing that man up? Shlomo Melech had 1,000 wives. So what is she? Each one married a 3 cells from his nose.
I thought you were going to say Shlomo Melech wanted to cut the kid in half.
No.
That wasn't wives.
You weren't going, what?
That wasn't wives.
If you're saying this actually means half, then how does he divide it up, Shlomo Melech?
No, or you could break up a guy's body into 1,000 pieces. No.
Okay.
I don't know.
All those pieces don't match up. It doesn't match up. When he marries the first one, it's all. He can't be mishamish both of them at the same time, or 3 at the same time, or 4 or 5.
He doesn't have to. Why should he have to?
So does he say to have the same ksuva in each one? Since maybe he only has to pay half a ksuva, or whatever. He had 10 wives, they only 1/10 of it.
He didn't pay nothing to Rachman. He was the king.
I didn't. Yeah, okay. I was talking over here, not there.
What do you call it? Yeah, okay. This is this is a Lamda Gemara, right? How you understand all these kinyonim and how it works. But that's basically what it's saying. So a man could marry multiple wives, therefore he could marry off half of himself off. Right. So fine. So Amalei Marzucha, Brei the Ramari Ravina, really Rabar, maybe this is what you're asking. Benifshala Kitushe Bekula, right? Why don't we say that the Kiddushin goes to her whole body? Meaning, yes, he only married half of her. But when you marry half, it's considered as if you married the whole thing. Why? Let's say a guy goes to his animal and said he's only making the foot into a carbon oil. Take kula oil, then the entire animal becomes an oila. And even according to Mandam, it says the whole thing does not become an oila, right? That's only when he makes hektish something that the neshama is not going to be dependent on it, meaning a leg. So an animal can live without a leg, right? By like the lungs, the heart, the brain, etc. Everybody holds it's an oila. So I'm assuming what he means is that when you makadish a half a woman, you're getting limbs, whatever, body parts that it's going to be necessary, right? So
but
therefore, yeah.
Would they say this exact same svara lagabi masna mashakasa b'terah when it comes to, let's say, Aina or whatever one of the? Would you say the same svara? Let's say if the Gemara says if you're masna mashakasa b'terah, the Kiddushin, it's not kaim. It's not kaim.
Right.
Would this be the same thing?
You're saying you want to make a half of tonight?
I mean, I don't know. You're trying to uproot the way the Torah looks at Kiddushin.
I hear you.
One second. Didn't we have a case last week, mentioned because of the Torah, that the woman had a choice, and we said that it was Mekayim because she didn't have to do it. She accepted something. We had some case broken up in a different way.
Right. So you want to say
so why is it keep saying the master because the Torah Kiddushin doesn't work? We had it did work.
No, I think Kiddushin does work. No,
it does.
It
work.
wasn't. asked out master because of the Torah. I don't know what the answer.
Mara said she had a choice. She could say no, or she could say yes. It's not his, but that's what I thought.
If you're master on Oina, is the Kiddushin kaim?
No, I don't know.
No, right? So then that's what I'm asking on.
Right. No, I hear what you're saying. I don't know. Okay, no, very good. So anyway, that's the Gemara's kasha. Why is it any different than being makdish leg of an animal? So Gemara says, "Midami hasa behema." There it's a behema. Behema has no das, right? So therefore, it's going to go to the whole animal. Hacha das acheres. Here, there's a das acheres, right? Meaning, you need to have her das. She only said, "I'm marrying half of you. I'm not married. I mean, I'm only giving half of me to you. You can't just go make that decision for an animal. You can make that decision. Oh, you bought half. Okay, so you get the whole thing. Fine. By a woman, you can't do that. She only gave up half of herself. So what is it similar to? When you have a behemoth that belongs to two shutrim, hikdish chetzia, the guy's makdish half, v'chazar v'lokcha v'hikdisha, and he goes and meaning you have two partners who own an animal. One guy decides to make his hektish, his half. Then he went v'chazar v'lokcha v'hikdisha, and then he bought his boss's his partner's half, and then he made that one hektish. Still, kedusha, the animal has hektish ve'ena krevi. You're not allowed to bring it. Why? Because when he first initially made this animal into hektish, he obviously didn't mean to bring the animal when he made it hektish, because you can't shech the animal if you only own half of it, right? So what he meant is that he's going to take the worth of half the animal and make it into hektish, right? So kedusha. So he went and bought the other half. It's no good, because since initially it couldn't be brought as a carbon, then even afterwards, even though he now bought the entire animal, it cannot go as a carbon. And if you make tamura, if he makes tamura, means tamura is, you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to swap your animal out for something else, right? So for another animal, if you do it, then both animals become hektish. And if he does that, then it's going to be the same din. So whatever it is, you see, that's what we're talking about here. That would be the similar case, but with making a woman hektish, half a woman hektish, have half a woman marrying half a woman. It would be the same thing as here, where the hektish you cannot bring the carbon, and this woman would not be able to be married. Fine. So shmami not tlas, we see from this Gemara three things. On to my base. Yeah, shmami not balichaim nidchim. We learn from this that Baalei Chaim are doichem, meaning once you cannot bring a Baal Chaim as a carbon, then that's it. It's never, even though right now it's mutter again, meaning at one point this animal was also to be makir because he only must makdish half of it. Oh, now it became mutter because he bought the other half. Still, once it's out, it's out. Fine. Right, we had this. What it was sukkah. I only looked in Rashi. Right, once something is pushed off, right. Once it was hektish, then that's it. Then, how does it go again? Meaning it was never allowed to be brought, so therefore it can't become mutter again. That's two, which we see from here. And there's dichu bedomim too, because when this guy made this animal into hektish, he only was makdish half of it, which means that he wasn't planning on bringing it as a carbon. He was only planning on bringing the money part of it. Fine. So boy, Rabbi asked the Shiloh. Now we go a whole list of also crazy things. Chetzi b'chatzi pruta. He tells the woman, "I'm being makdish half of you with half a pruta," which obviously doesn't work. If he stops right then, it doesn't work. But then he says, I'm going to be kind of the other half of you with another half of pruta. Right? So Mao, what's the din? Meaning now we have together, he was makdish two halves of her, each one with a half. Yeah.
In general, is a pruta the smallest amount of money that they had? Or what is a pruta? It's the smallest thing that has value.
Yeah, that's I think that's the way it is. Yeah, it's the smallest thing that has value. Right? Yeah, that's what's the dafkamina?
Is it a thing that the Chacham said that's the smallest amount where they had half prutas like we used to have in America? It was in England, half pence, whatever. There's a penny, but there's things less than a penny also. But it can be you're saying it doesn't have value.
So yeah, I think here is a theoretical half a pruta, because a half a pruta, less than a pruta is a zero, except theoretically, if you say I have one pruta, and I said, and if I could cut this pruta in half, and I pay half, it's got to be only theoretical, because you can't do,
If
But
you anybody, I don't know if anybody here saw Superman 2 so many years ago, but they were dealing in half cents. That's why Richard Pryor got arrested.
I don't even think I ever watched a Superman. You believe it?
I don't know what he's talking about. I thought those all the people made movies already had half their sense.
Okay,
No,
very
that's
good.
what happened. He was the bookie, he was the accountant for the company, and all the people, the overtime that they made less than a penny, he would steal it. He would keep it for himself. He put it into his account, and then he added up to big bucks.
There you go. There you go.
That's why.
Anyway,
That's why I never thought of it.
I hear. I hear. But this Shiloh is not, meaning he did it rapid fire. He says to her, I'm marrying half of you. You get this lumdish chasen under the chuppah. He says, you know what? I'm saying, Areya Mikudeshes, the half of you, whatever. And then he says, Areya Mikudeshes, the other half with a half a pruta. Great. Now he drives the Masada Kiddushin up the wall. Now he's got to decide, what did this guy mean? Right? Mao, what's it in? Kivan Dharma Lachatzi Pruta Pascha. Once he said half a pruta, Pascha, it stopped. And therefore she's not married. All he was doing was counting out the money, half a pruta, like $1, $2, right? So that's Shiloh number one. If you said that he was really counting and it's a marriage is a good marriage. Let's say he says half of you with a pruta, a whole pruta, not a half a pruta. First case was half of you, half a pruta. This case is half of you with a pruta. That's different. Kiman Dharma pruto, pruto. Since the pruta, Pascal and Milse. It stopped. Or do you say that as long as he was counting that day, that's considered they all combine and therefore he's married to her? Fine. Anything on that day is counted and it combines. Half a pruta today and half a pruta tomorrow. What's it in? Since he told her tomorrow, that stops it. It's a new day. Your Kiddushin is going to start now. It's not going to be finished till tomorrow. Fine. Two halves of a pruta. What's the din? Meaning again, he says two. I'm being kind to you, both halves with one pruta, right? So he said it at one time, so they should be married. A woman, you cannot marry half of her. No matter what kind of shtick you use, you can't marry half of her. So teku, we say it's a teku. Fine. Then we continue with more shilas. The boy Rava. Now we get into a lot more lumdas here. The guy goes over to his friend in shul, and he says, hey, my two sons are going to marry your two sons for one pruta. So now each one is getting a half a pruta. So it depends who you go by. If you go by the giver, who's the father, he's giving a pruta. If you go by the chassan and the kala, they're only getting half a pruta. So mahu, basar noisen, umakabel, that we go with the one giving and the one accepting, which are the fathers. And you had money there. Right? Aidilma, basar ditu aslinan, or do we go with them for halakha? You don't have a pruta.
Well, the girls can be katanas, but the boys can be cotton.
That's a good point. Yeah, how does he make college? How does he make condition for his son? The son does
He's a shliach for the boy. The boy's not the issue. Taisus, very good. Taisus says it's got to be that they're katanas, right? Meaning because the father has control over them.
Of the girls, yeah.
Of the girls, not the boys.
No, the boys. He's their shliach.
Right? But I'm saying how do the boys make shlichus if they're katanim?
Oh, they're not katanim. They're gedolim. Two gedolim.
So from the girls' side, it should work one pruta because the father controls both girls, but the boys one pruta shouldn't work.
Rashi Bavarn's the Kash. I don't know what he's saying, but he says you made one shliach.
It's one, yeah, right. But
Yeah. So you see the second paragraph, the boys could make a shliach. What would be the difference? They make each one made the father's shliach. Didn't have to be two sons. It could have been any two people, and they made one person the same shliach. But if it, now you're talking shlichus over here, so it's
right. So
maybe
Tyson
don't
basically
like.
said the whole style is the one on the makabel, not so much not for the noisen, right? Does it go busting a makabel? So do you need it or not? Yeah. So that's the shilos. The Gemara says teku. Fine. Boy Rav Papa. Bitcho paras Rav Pruta. He says, I want to marry your daughter and a cow with a pruta. Mao mi amrinan bitcha b'chatzi pruta paras b'chatzi pruta. He means to marry the guy's daughter, or he right, and for half a pruta and the cow half a pruta. Idilma bitcha b'pruta paras b'mashicha. He meant I'm going to give a pruta to the daughter, and the para I'm going to do mashicha. I'm going to pull it. Right. So teku. That's a teku. No, the joke they say.
It's Yaakov. Nowadays, I'm saying you could be kind of metaltalin with mamonis. What's the havamina that you're trying to be kind of metaltalin with a pruta?
Why not? Why can't you? You might
I
have
thought
to
the maskana because the mice maskana. We haven't gotten to Bava Metzia, but I'm pretty sure in the maskana you can't be kind of metaltalin with mammon.
Well, listen, it's a machlokes, but it's certainly if you
right. I'm saying.
But
but my point is on the side that you can't be kind of with mammon is obviously your das is not to do that. Otherwise, you're not kind of.
Right. No, I hear. But maybe this means with it. Maybe it means with it.
How though? If it doesn't work, can you?
It'll work. It works out the kesef part. But anyways, there's a joke they say. Rabbi Yasha, they asked if you should hold the kala. I wonder if you got it from this Gemara. Should the chazan hold the kala's hand after the chuppah, the way the chassidim do it? So Rabbi Yashav answered, if you hold the para, you're kind of a meshicha, so then you should hold the hand, right? So maybe it's from here. He's being kind of the girl with the pruta, and he says the cow I'm going to do by pulling it. Okay, maybe Rabbi Yashav was learning that this is the same, at least according to the joke that they supposedly say. Fine. Next Shiloh.
To me, the issue is once something else comes into play besides the isha, besides the girl. So then, and that's for one pruta. So some chelik of that pruta did not go to the girl, and therefore it's pachas pruta that went for the girl. No matter if it was 99.9%, it's still pachas pruta, and I think that's the shiloh.
That's it. Yeah, that's another way of putting it. Yeah, very good. So boy Ravashi, bitcha v'karka acha. There you go, bepruta. Mao again, his daughter and karka land. Mao bitcha b'chatzi pruta v'karka b'chatzi pruta. He meant half of each. I dilma bitcha b'pruta v'karka b'chazaka. Bitcha is probably finish in 5 minutes. So dilma bitcha b'pruta v'karka b'chazaka. Right, the daughters of the pruta, same shiloh. So teku to teku. Fine. Then the Gemara goes on to a different subject. It was a guy who was being makdish a lady with shirai is silk, right? So Rabbi says you don't have to evaluate how much the silk was worth, right? The assumption is that it's okay, right? Rabbi Yosef Amar tzrichi shuma. No, you need to evaluate it. How does she know what she's getting? So the Gemara says, if he says, I'm being makadish you with the smallest amount of silk, she doesn't need shuma because it's going to be worth a pruta. And he told her, I'm giving you the minimum amount. And if he said to her, I'm being makdish you with silk that's worth 50, and it's not worth 50, it's not worth it. So therefore, it's not worth the 50. So that she's not married. What he said, it's 50, right? And the taco was worth 50. Rabba Amar Shuma. You don't need to have it officially evaluated, the Hashavu Chamishin, because it's worth Chamishin. Rabbi Yosef Amar Shuma, you do need Shuma, even the Itza Loi Bekiya B'Shuma, since a woman is not a Baki, Loi Samchadaita, she's not Saimich on her das. Right? And therefore she's not Saimich her das. She's not She's meaning she doesn't know, even though we know that this thing is worth 50, until you give her a real estimate from an expert, she's not going to want to get married to this guy.
So how did we do the ring?
How do you do the ring? I think it's
You just give her $100 bill. What are you giving her a ring? She doesn't know what the ring's worth. How does anybody know what the ring is worth?
He asked to aid him, is this worth $1? You never heard?
Yeah, but when they're talking about more than
$1
a buck
and
here,
aid
we're
him
talking about more than a buck here in the Gemara.
right.
The Gemara is saying she has to know what the thing is worth, not that it's worth a pruto. Yeah, we all know it's worth a pruto. Even the one in the Cracker Jack box is worth a pruto. That's not the point.
I hear you, Kasha.
Yeah, but I think he's giving her the ring, also Shava Pruta. I think he's not giving her a ring and saying this ring is worth $50 or whatever they cost.
The case in the Gemara, nobody said nothing. It just gave her a piece of silk. Nobody said how much.
So that's the
by us. It happens to be a ring, but what really essentially it's a piece of silver, so it doesn't need a shuma. It doesn't need a shuma. Here, silk, you have no idea. That's what I think. It's just essentially it's a piece of silver that happens to have a hole in it that fits on her ring, on her finger. Sorry, I think. Some say that they're arguing even b'necholdu. Right? Rabbi Yosef Amar Shava Kesef Reuka Kesef. Shava Kesef, meaning something that's worth Kesef, is the same as Kesef. Ma Kesef, the kites. Kesef has a set amount, right? Meaning you know how much it's worth. Af Shava Kesef, Nami the kite. So Shava Kesef also has to be a set amount, and therefore she has to know how much it's worth, even if he says a koldehu. How do I know that it needs to have a set? You need to know exactly how much. It says from the money that he buys. Right? This is talking about being paid again an eved from a guy. The kesef who niknev ain't a niknev but two of a kalim. You kind him with kesef, but not with grain and not with utensils. What's the case of giving grain and utensils to a guy in order to be paid an eved? If you say that you can't buy him at all, Yashiv Gulasai. It says Yashiv Gulasai. He should give back what he was redeemed for. The Rabbi Shava Kesef Kesef. That includes anything worth Kesef that's like Kesef. Be the less Shava Pruta, and if there's no Shava Pruta, my ear Yitvu V'Kelim. So then, why are you saying Tvu V'Kelim? Afilu Kesef Nami. Meaning, if it's worth less than a Shava Pruta, of course you can't. You can't do any sort of purchase. Elalav Isbu Shava Pruta. It's talking about whether it was a Shava Pruta, but Kivan the Loy Kaitzi. But since nobody gave the exact set amount with the grain and the utensils, it doesn't work. V'idach, and the other one says Hachikamar B'Tayras Kesef Hu Nikna. He's being kinded with Tayras Kesef, ain't Nikna B'Tayras Tvu V'Kelim, and he's not being kinded in the Tayr of Tvu V'Kelim. Umayninhu, and what is that? Chalipin. That's referring to Chalipin. Right, Shalas, where should we stop here? Let's just do a few more lines. What about according to Rab Nachman, who holds that Paris, you can't do Chalipin with Paris, right? You can't, meaning, you have to do Chalipin. You give a pen, right? And he gives, we do Chalipin by marriage, and we do it by Mechiras Chametz. You give a pen, he gives something back. So that he says you could do that, but you can't use fruit, right? You can't pick up an apple and give it to the guy, and the guy gives it back. So Michael and Meimar, what are you going to say? Elo Island the less Shava Pruta. Realize there was no Shava Pruta. The garment my area Tvu V'Kelim Afilu Kesef Nami, and even Kesef too. How of course you can't be paid to somebody with less than a Shava Pruta. Let me buy Kesef the Ispe Shava Pruta in Eli. That if there's a Shava Pruta, yes. If not, Aval Tvu V'Kelim Ema, but maybe Tvu V'Kelim mean the Mekarva Haniasa, since then you can use the Hana immediately. Gomeru Makni Nafshe, he is makning himself with that, Kamash Malan, that it's less than a Shava Pruta, it doesn't work. Right? Meaning we thought again, maybe a little utensil, I don't know exactly what it would be, that's worth less than a Shava Pruta, since you can use it right away. So maybe the guy's gonna be makning himself, gonna say, no, the Chiddush is no, it doesn't work. Okay, I mean the Gemara continues, but we'll stop over here. All right,
But see, Yaakov,
tomorrow I might have to learn early, like before like 7.